So what would I build out if I had my own dealership? This is a question I got this week. If it were your store and your money, what kind of search campaign would you build out? Now, I've seen a lot of campaigns. I've seen a lot of accounts in the build outs, and I've seen them, successful or not successful. So I'm not the expert on this, but I'm just going by what I've seen so far, that I've seen work and that I've seen not work. So let's start with what doesn't work. Building out 80 different campaigns for every single possible model and make that you have on your lot, new and used, if you're an OEM branded store, is ridiculous. Now, I do understand the purpose of that if you have just a used store, if you're just selling used vehicles from your store and that's it. But even then, I don't know that I would build out for every single model on my lot. I'll explain why. So let's start with a new manufacturer OEM branded store. So if I have an OEM branded store, I'm building out a new VA campaign, a used off-make VA campaign, and a CPO VA campaign. And then I'm also adding a VA focus campaign on probably a top-selling model, like a nameplate model, like a Wrangler, like a Rogue, like an F-150. That's what I'm talking about. Those ones that we sell 3 of for every one of everything else we have on the lot. And then I'm building out a brand campaign, a regional campaign, and then brand and regional service campaigns. And in the brand campaign, I'll have the models with different services, especially the highest points of defection, BTOB, brakes, tires, battery, oil changes, adding engine filter, cabin air filter, wiper blades, things like that. So that would be a standard build out if I had an OEM branded store. I'll explain why. Because you don't need a campaign for every single model on your lot. We used to need that. That was maybe up to 8 years, maybe 5 years ago, I'll even give you. But we don't need that anymore. The vehicle ads have replaced that. And you add PMAX in to layer over the vehicle ads. I'm a fan of PMAX as long as it has a purpose. I'm not a fan of PMAX on its own solo with no campaign goal, if that makes sense. Like, I understand it has a campaign goal, but like I would do PMAX on a brand campaign, or and then the brand campaign itself, or I would do, you definitely do PMAX on vehicle ads. That's a given. That's a no-brainer. But other than that, I don't know that I would do them on a model campaign, because I think it would run up the CPC too much. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's been my experience so far, is I just don't think for the CPC cost that it's really worth it. I think it's really good on a brand campaign, and then even a regional campaign, it's really good. But I haven't seen the success yet on specific model ones. Doesn't mean there won't be, but just I haven't seen it yet. I just don't think, and I don't know why it's a standard build out for these micro moments that a lot of the manufacturers are demanding that their stores build out. I think it's thinning out the budget of the store too much. Because if you're a store that has your monthly advertising budget is $5,000, even $10,000 a month, that's too thin to have 80 different campaigns. Essentially, the build out is a high, low, and mid-funnel campaign for every model on your lot. So think about how many models you have. You might have 15 different models that you as a manufacturer, that your manufacturer sells. Now you have to build out 3 campaigns for each of those models. And on top of that, you have to have the vehicle ads, you have to have the brand campaigns, regional campaigns, and then you have to have the brand and regional service campaigns. So now, I mean, I've legit seen, and then you're talking about your used vehicles. If you want to build out a micro moments campaign for all your used vehicles by hopefully not by model, God help you, by model, you're upwards of 100 campaigns. That's insane to try to manage. Now, I do understand some benefit to having a model campaign, or a make campaign for your used makes that you have in stock. I do understand the relevance of having that if you have the extra budget to do that. If you have a used car lot, if your car lot is your I don't know, a buy here, pay here, or just a used car lot. I have a truck store by my old house that used to sell all lifted trucks. I think it was called Lifted Trucks or something like that. And they did really good business. I saw them rotate through their inventory, and that's great. But for a store like that doesn't have an OEM affiliation, it doesn't have the benefit of the tier 1 and the tier 2 support with marketing that's being paid for by the manufacturer or subsidized by the manufacturer. It's kind of incumbent on you to do your own advertising, but you may not be offering service. I don't know a lot of those stores that offer service department facilities other than, just to service the cars they have in stock. But so let's say you don't, and let's say it's just the sales of the vehicles. Okay, so what I would then concentrate on is make campaigns for every single make I had on there. And the reason I would do that is because one, you do a campaign for every one unit you have in your inventory. Then once you sell that one unit inventory, you're gonna have to go and take that campaign down, and that becomes a full-time job in and of itself. So you have the budget to pay for someone to do that. God bless you, go ahead. But I would build one for every single make, and then anything that I keep multiple units in stock of. So if I know that I have in my 100 car inventory, I have 16 Jettas, just throwing that out there, I would absolutely build a model campaign on my Jettas for sure, 100%, with tons of keywords surrounding Jetta, great buy, solid quality car, whatever it is. I would absolutely build it out that way. But you don't need it for every single model you have in stock. Keep it for your high volume models. So if you have 10 F-150s, if you have 20 Altimas, whatever, then you're building model campaigns. But don't get crazy with your micro moments build or with your model campaign build, because it's just not worth it. It's just not worth the effort if you're the one putting in the effort. Even for your digital marketing company, if you're paying someone to do that, for them to manage it becomes tedious. And I'm not saying that's not what you're paying them for, but I'm also saying you are going to get better results by keeping focused on your higher volume models, keeping make campaigns instead of model campaigns. So if you have a service department that you have the funds to actually advertise with, I would absolutely recommend, on top of the BTOB, the brakes, tires, battery, oil changes, utilizing different campaigns that that are popular in your region. So for California right now, it's cabin air filters, engine air filters. Those are important right now because if there's a lot of wildfires going on. If I were going into September, October, November, I would start talking about, and I know nothing about snow tires, so is that the time to talk about snow tires? Is that the time to start talking about changing your windshield wiper blades to ones that can handle pushing snow? Is that the time to talk about snow blowers, or snowmobiles or things like that? So think about your region and what is seasonally that the different campaigns that you can build out, and then go from there as far as your unique campaigns that you're building out. But broadly, VAs for new and used, CPO if you got them, then do your used off makes, use one VA focus campaign, brand and regional, and 3 to 4 tops model campaigns. That should be a standard build out for a car dealership. Anything more than that is just, it's waste. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of the digital marketing company's time, and it's not going to get you the results that you want. It's going to generate more clicks, but you really have to think about the quality of the click to get you down to the conversion, which is what's going to actually ultimately result in a sale. So that's all I got for this week. Happy selling.